Harry mocked over ceasing to be the darling of the public as his lectures utterly despised media. Prince Harry's recent appearance at the GQ Men of the Year award has drawn criticism from two royal commentators, who said it was frustrating that the Duke chose to make an attack in what could have been a positive message. The Duke of Sussex was presenting an award to the scientists of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine and took the opportunity to urge governments to do more to vaccinate people in underdeveloped countries. Speaking to Palace Confidential, Kate Hansey said, "Here again it's something we're doing wrong. It's Harry lecturing us yet again when it should be a pat on the back to these fantastic scientists who created this vaccine. And yet, he knows best, he's lecturing us on what we need to do, and I can't really see what practical steps he's doing to ensure that there might be money going into various projects. It's bizarre that he should use this opportunity to make a stand." Julia Hartley-Brewer continued, "I just find it so frustrating. If he wants to go on and use his notoriety and fame and his influence to say, hey, get vaccinated, this is a life-saving vaccine, you should take this vaccine and queue up, particularly in America where you've got quite a low take-up in some places, that's great. Pestilence, famine, his mother's death, climate change, the fact he can't get Marmite in California. Now he's claiming the news media has contributed to mass-scale misinformation and lies about the vaccine and created vaccine hesitancy. If this idiot ever read the news, he'd know the media has been vociferously pro the vaccine. What hasn't been social media, where for months a deranged cabal of conspiracy theorists have been screaming about the government using the vaccines to implant microchips into our brains. They're also claiming it makes people magnetic, causes autism, and is made from fetal tissue. But Harry clearly doesn't know the difference between social and news media, which became obvious at GQ's Men of the Year awards this week, where he made the confused claim that the news media had been peddling mass misinformation and lies about the vaccine. Of course, none of this is to do with the vaccine, it's all about Harry's paranoid, unrelenting hatred of the media, which he despises, in part, because it sees him and Meghan for what they are. Because it dares to question their so-called truths and calls out their towering hypocrisy, like when supposed eco-warrior Harry recently took a private jet from a polo match in Aspen back to his home in Santa Barbara, which would easily have emitted 10 tons of CO2. But we should know by now Harry's climate change mantra has always been "don't do what I do, do what I tell you to do." He and Meghan hate the news media because its journalists behave like actual journalists and not the fawning PR lackeys they want them to be. The news media doesn't just swallow every outlandish, hurtful claim he and Meghan make. The pair of them have made a career and many millions out of taking vile potshots at the royal family while playing professional victims, whining about their hellish treatment at the hands of the Windsors. And that's why Ofcom's decision this week, which completely exonerated Piers Morgan for saying he didn't believe a word of what they said in that Oprah interview, wasn't just an embarrassing smack in the face for this self-righteous pair, it's also a big wake-up call for them. Until now they've operated safe in the knowledge that anyone who dared criticize them was silenced, but not before being slated as a racist, a sexist, or both. We weren't allowed to probe their so-called truths, many of which have proved to be untrue. But this Ofcom ruling sets a precedent. It means we are now entitled to say we don't believe everything they spout, which isn't just a victory for free speech but for common sense as well. Why should Meghan and Harry be entitled to free speech while the rest of us are not? It also means us and Megs might now have to provide evidence, hard facts, for some of their devastating accusations about the royals. And maybe they'll now think twice about abusing their power by contacting the bosses of people who've upset them and demanding they be sacked. They will have to do what they should always have had to do, but which ingrained Walker here prevented, and that's be able to back up what they say. Because with every day that passes they look less credible and more neurotic and desperate. Their motives look less charitable and more self-serving. And if Harry wants to know what peddlers of misinformation look like, he just needs to look in the mirror.